Messiah of all. The only black man that built a mass movement in this country without the need for religion. For me, for something to be black, it's all black. It ain't 85%, it ain't 75%, it ain't 99%. If everybody not black, it ain't black. That's my definition. You know, people ask me, they say, Dr. Umar, you building that school down in Wilmington, Delaware with all black money? Why don't you just open up a charter school, brother? You're a former charter school principal. You're a former charter school vice principal. What's with this Marcus Garvey do-it-yourself? I said, you know what? That charter school that we own, that used to be a charter school. And guess what? They accused them of financial mismanagement. Took their charter. $13 million project, 4 buildings. We own it now. But it was owned by a black man, a friend of mine. And the white folks of Delaware sabotaged his school, accused him of financial mismanagement, took his charter. What I want a charter school for? States own charter schools. And when they tired of you having one, they'll just accuse you of playing with the money too and take your charter. Why do I want my children's future to be in the hands of another people? Once upon a time, we used to own our own schools. Y'all remember that? Way before school desegregation. See, Huntsville, y'all desegregated in 1963. Y'all started busing black kids into white children in Alabama in 1974. But I want y'all to know something tonight. Public school did not desegregate so black kids could get a better education. That's one of the biggest lies ever told to Negroes. The Supreme Court did not strike down school segregation so black kids could get a better education. You know why they really outlawed desegregation? Because they were afraid of the black excellence that our children was achieving in those underfunded, segregated schools. Oh yes. See, they know that it was the segregated black school that gave us Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was the segregated black school that gave us Rosewood, Florida. It was the segregated black school that gave us Wilmington, North Carolina. It was the segregated black school that gave us Charleston. Do y'all know? We invented the gas mask before we sat next to white kids. We invented the stoplight before we sat next to white kids. We invented the refrigerated truck before we sat next to white kids. They didn't desegregate the schools because you were not learning. They desegregated the schools because you were outperforming the white children. And they needed to dumb us down. And so here we are in 2023 waiting for white folks to educate black kids. Are you crazy? The schools in Alabama will never work for black children until you build your own. And do you know why? In order to make sure the white kids always control the state. Let me say it again. In order to make sure white kids always control the state, politically and economically, the black children must fail. Oh yes. I'm a school psychologist. I give tests for a living. I give tests so much I could probably get a whole test right now without the protocol. Why do our kids score 15 points lower than the whites and the Asians? You know why the black kids score 15 points lower than the whites and the Asians on the IQ test? Because there's a scale on the IQ test called verbal comprehension. Do you know what verbal comprehension is, brothers and sisters? That's the words, concepts, and ideas that white people use that black kids never heard of, and they got nothing to do with how smart you are. Vocabulary is why our children is failing. So then you say, well, Dr. Umar, why don't they just take the verbal scale out the IQ test and leave the working memory, the processing speed, and the nonverbal memory? You know why they will never take verbal comprehension out of the IQ test? The reason they will never take verbal comprehension out of the IQ test, gentlemen, is because if you take that out, black children will start outperforming the white kids. And you can't have black children in America outperforming the white kids. You want to know why? Because now if the black kids got higher test scores than the white kids, if there's only one black kid working on his medical degree at the University of Alabama, you can now say, why is he more? Because our children are scoring higher than yours. If it's only one black kid working on his dentist degree or engineering degree or psychology degree, the black community has a clear case of blatant discrimination. Because if our children are outperforming yours on the standardized test, you cannot explain why we don't have more black people in your programs. So you know what they do? They design the tests so our children fail. I'm going to say it again. They design a test so our children fail. I'm going to say it one more time. They design a test so our children fail. You say, wait a minute, Dr. Umar, that sounds like an exaggeration. How are you going to make a test that children fail? I'll tell you how. Before a test comes out, we put the test through a process known as standardization. I know this because I participated in standardization for some of the most popular IQ tests used in the United States. You know what standardization is? We test the test before your child takes the test.
That's right.
Did y'all hear what I just said? They sent me to Alabama. They said, we want you to test 5 black kids, 0 to 5 years old, single mom. Test another 5 black kids, 0 to 5, parents are married. Test another black kid, 0 to 5, father has a doctorate. Test another group of black kids, 0 to 5, single mom with a master's degree. Do the same thing for the whites. Do the same thing for the Asians. Do the same thing for the Latinos. So we didn't already tested the test. They already know how black kids are going to score on the Alabama State Assessment. They already know whether your children are going to pass or fail. How? Because they already tested them before they gave them the damn test.
Wow. That's right.
And if you think I'm lying, find me a psychologist who can prove me wrong, black or white. Find me one. They know I'm telling the truth. So you say, well, Dr. Umar, why are you the first person to tell us this? Because most black psychologists are getting paid by the white folks. I work for myself, so I can tell you the truth. You know how much money you can make being a psychologist today without no principles? You know how much money you can make being a black psychologist without no character? You know how much money you can make being a black psychologist who don't care about the children? They paying $5,000 an eval! I could be a millionaire in a year if I decided to become a coon.
That's right.
I'd be a millionaire in a year! So don't wait for these black psychologists in Alabama to tell you the truth. They're not going to because they're too busy hustling your ass. There ain't no mental health in black America. There's only money being made in the name of mental health. And let me tell you, black mothers, something right now. You better not get your child tested for ADHD. Because if you get your child tested for ADHD, which doesn't even exist, the drug companies made it up to get paid off for single-parented black boys whose fathers are incarcerated or out the home. If you get your son diagnosed with ADHD, and the school says he needs medicine, and you start giving him the medicine, and then you notice he gaining too much weight, losing too much weight, sleeping too long, can't sleep at all. Tic disorders, tremors, psychosis, nightmares, executive function dysfunction. You say, I'm not giving my son that drug no more. My son acting funny. He's starting to twitch. He having crazy dreams, heart palpitations. Once you start giving him the drugs, what they going to do? They're going to call Child and Family Services on you. Child and Family Services is going to come knock on your door in Huntsville, Alabama, Birmingham, and they're going to say, we have an anonymous complaint that your son was diagnosed with ADHD, prescribed medicine, and you ain't giving it to him. If you don't start giving him the meds, we're going to charge you with medical neglect, and we're going to take all your children out the house. Oh, yeah.
That's right.
I know black parents all over this country who don't have their children no more. You know why? Because Dr. Umar told them, do not get them tested for ADHD, conduct disorder, ODD, because if you don't medicate them, they're going to take your children. But they didn't want to listen to me because I'm black. Even though I got more credentials than any white psychologist you know, because I'm black, you didn't listen. Now you ain't got your kids. And when they take the kids, guess who they give them to? The white rainbow tribe they're raising.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you didn't know? Black children in foster care are more likely to be auctioned off to gay white couples. Oh, do your research if you don't believe me. What is this relationship between black kids and gay white couples that they get all our damn children when they get taken from their parents? You know why? Because gay people can't reproduce. So if I need to recruit more people into my movement, I gotta get children. Aha. So now you got all these black kids being raised by same-sex white couples. No disrespect if you same-sex. I love all black people, but as an African, I reserve the right to disagree with any lifestyle that threatens the survival of my people.
Come on, brother.
You know what I learned yesterday on my way flying here? Guess what I learned yesterday? I didn't know. Planned Parenthood is giving out free hormone replacement therapy to black teenagers. Did y'all know that? No. They are giving out hormone replacement therapy to black children who want to be transgendered without parent permission. It is legal now. Your child can change their gender without your permission. But guess what else they're working on? They're working on reducing the age of sexual majority so 12-year-olds can have sex with grown adults. Have you heard of the organization called the North American Association for Man and Boy Love? Make sure you get on the internet and look up the website. North American Association for Man and Boy Love. They say children are old enough to decide who they want to have sex with at 12. And they are lobbying the American Psychiatric Association and the American Psychological Association, because remember, those organizations decide what's normal. So they're lobbying them to reduce the age of sexual majority to 12. Because you know right now it's 16. It used to be 18. Right. Now it's 16. They want to drop it to 12. Oh yes. There is a war on the innocence of black children, and we sit around playing stupid like we don't recognize what they're doing with our kids because we don't want to use none of our disposable income to build our own schools. Somebody help me understand something as I wrap this up. Black people are a $2 trillion economy in America. We are the richest group of Africans on the face of the earth. There is no African population on the planet Earth who has more disposable income than you, the American Negro. And I'm trying to understand how we spend $30 billion a year on fake hair. We spend $2 billion a year on Air Jordan. We spend $4 billion a year on liquor and alcohol. We spend $1 billion a year on beef, chicken, turkey, and pork. We spend about $12 million a year on children's cologne. But we only have about 3 dozen independent schools in the whole damn country. You know why? Because even though you were freed by the 13th Amendment, you still behave like a damn slave. Because if we really wanted to be free, if we really cared about our kids, there would be an independent school in Huntsville, there would be an independent school in Montgomery, there would be an independent school in Birmingham, there would be an independent school in Selma. Oh yeah! New York, Philly, D.C., Baltimore, we're the only people who are not in a hurry to build their own community. Soon when Chinese get to America, the first thing they do is build community. Soon when European Jews get to America, first thing they do is build community. You got the Ukrainians and Afghans only been here a year, and they already got their own community centers and hospitals. I know they're getting help from the government. But you don't need help from the government. Individually, we might be poor, but there's no way you want to convince me that a $2 trillion people got to sit around waiting for reparations before you do something for yourself. How about you're just too damn lazy and you're comfortable with white folks running your life? Take your phone out. I'm going to give you my number before I close with my final statement. All parents, you need my number. Mothers, fathers, grandmothers. And you know what I notice when I speak? The people who need my number the most never take it down. Because you're lazy. But you'll be calling me in 2 weeks. Dr. Johnson, call me back. I'm in Huntsville. I saw you talking. I misplaced your number. No, you didn't. You never took the damn number. Stop lying. Phone number, I'm going to give it to you 3 times. 215-989. 985, give it to a parent in need. 215-989-9858. Last time, 215-989-9858. I charge $75 for consultations. I don't care how long it takes us. But do not call me to schedule a consultation for your child if you don't have your paperwork together, because I don't need your money. Okay? Don't call me if you ain't got the psychological evaluations. Don't call me if you ain't got the IEP. Don't call me if you ain't got the 504 plans. Don't call me if you ain't got the standardized tests. Don't call me if you ain't got the interim reports. What boils my skin when it comes to black parents is how y'all never have your child's paperwork in order. But guess what? I'm going to tell you a little secret. This is a federal law called the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act of 1974. Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 1974. Half y'all should have wrote it down, but I'm dealing with Negroes. Listen, FERPA 1974. If you don't have your child's paperwork, that's all you got to do. Dear Dr. Slurvenberger, my son Raekwon is a third grader at We Hate Black People Public School, Huntsville, Alabama. I'm requesting a complete copy of my child's academic record to include all standardized testing, report card, discipline, special ed, classroom documentation. I understand this is my right per FERPA 1974. I also understand you have 45 days. Your child's school has 45 days to provide you with a complete copy of the academic record. Please let me know if there is a cost associated with my request. They cannot charge you for the service, but they can charge you for the copy. It'll only be $20. $20 and you get everything in the school with your child's name on it. That's all you got to do. Once you get that file from the school, that's when you call Dr. Umar, because I'm going to tell you to scan the evals, email them to me. We're going to schedule a consultation by telephone or virtually, and we're going to go through the whole thing, and I'm going to give you the plan you need to rescue your child. Okay? Now, there's one consultation I do for free. Guess what that is? There's one you don't have to pay. If your child was ever classified as mentally retarded or intellectually disabled, if your child was ever classified by the public or charter school as intellectually disabled or mentally retarded, I will help you for free. I do not charge. All you have to do is text the number I just gave you. I'm going to give you my email address. You're going to scan and email me the evaluation. Dr. Umar, why did you do that mentally retarded eval reviews for free? You know why? Black children are 4 times as likely as white kids to be called retarded in America when they're not. Barack Obama changed the terminology in 2009 from mental retardation to intellectual disability. There's nothing worse than telling a black child you're retarded. It's worse than calling them learning disabled. It's worse than calling them autistic. It's worse than calling them emotionally disturbed. It's worse than calling them ADHD. So if anybody ever give you a psychological evaluation, school, clinic, hospital, I don't care who you get it from, you send it to Dr. Umar and make me take a look. But whatever you do, don't go telling your damn child that you're retarded, because white folks say it. White folks say all black people are retarded. And I'm still trying to find out why black parents keep sending black children to white people to solve problems white people started. Isn't that interesting? Who started apartheid in South Africa? A psychologist. Who came up with the theory for segregation in America? A psychologist. Who came up with separate but equal in London, England? A psychologist. Who came up with Adolf Hitler's master race theory? A psychologist. The same people who created racism are the people we go into to save our kids. Something wrong with us. I want to close with a quote from my ancestor, the Honorable Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey Douglass. My family came to America in 1701. A black man stolen from the Igbo nation of Nigeria. His name was Bailey. He was born in Tyler County, Eastern Shore, Maryland. He married a black woman by the name of Selah, for whom my 12-year-old daughter is named. In 1745, Grandma Selah gave birth to Grandma Jenny. In 1774, Grandma Jenny gave birth to Grandma Betsy. Grandma Betsy was born a slave, but she married a free black man, my grandpa Isaac. They had 12 children. One daughter was named Harriet, another daughter was named Young Betsy, my 5 times great-grandmother. These 2 sisters were raped by the white man who owned our family on the Eastern Shore of Maryland by the name of Aaron Anthony. As a result of that rape, in February of 1818, Aunt Harriet gave birth to the greatest black leader in American history. His name, Frederick Augustus Washington Bailey. At the age of 20 in 1838, Cousin Frederick ran away from Baltimore, through Wilmington, Delaware, up to Philadelphia, on to New York, and he changed his name from Frederick Bailey to Frederick Douglass to hide his identity on the fugitive slave trail. The very next year, his half-brother and first cousin was born, my 4 times great-grandfather, Stephen Henry Bailey. Grandpa Stephen and cousin Fred were half-brothers because the slave master was their daddy, but they were also cousins because the slave master raped 2 sisters. My grandfather Stephen married my grandmama Caroline. On November the 14th, 1841, 10 years after the Nat Turner War, they gave birth to my 3 times great-grandfather, George Washington Bailey, the first black public school teacher in Denton, Maryland. In 1863, the Civil War kicks off. Frederick doesn't fight, but he sends my two cousins, Lewis and Charles. They go north to Boston, Massachusetts, and they enroll in a Boston, Massachusetts 54th Colored Regiment. If you've ever seen the movie Glory, Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman, that's the story of my cousins, Lewis and Charles Douglas. My grandfather Stephen and his son, my grandfather George, fought in the United States Colored Troops of Maryland. My grandpa George was in the 19th Regiment. My grandpa Steve was in the 9th Regiment. Do you know what that means? They were at Appomattox Courthouse when General Robert E. Lee, the general of the Confederate Army, surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant. Abraham Lincoln didn't free the slaves. The slaves freed Abraham Lincoln. White men didn't give me nothing. My ancestors fought for my freedom. My grandpa George was in Galveston, Texas on June 19, 1865, when General Gordon Granger read Special Order Number 3, emancipating all Africans in the state of Texas previously held in bondage, which became the Juneteenth holiday. My grandfather's was there. Abraham Lincoln didn't do nothing for me, but I did a whole lot for him. Frederick Douglass said, if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Power concedes nothing without a demand. It never did, and it never will. He said, find out what any people will quietly submit to, and you have just found the exact measure of injustice that will be inflicted upon them. He said, a man may not get all you pay for, but you're going to pay for all that you get. And if we as a people are ever to become free of the injustices inflicted upon us, we have to pay for it. We may pay with words, we may pay with blows, we may pay with blood, we may pay with our life. But he who wants to be free must himself strike the first blow. Frederick Douglass said, for 20 years I prayed on my knees to God for freedom. For 20 years I prayed, but the good Lord gave me no freedom until I got up off my knees and prayed with my feet. He says, you want respect for white people? Why do you look for pity? The man who pities you will never respect you, and the man who respects you has no need for pity.
Come on now.
Brothers and sisters, I invite all of you to come to the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG International Leadership Academy for our community grand opening. It will be during Kwanzaa week, and it will be all 7 nights of Kwanzaa. We are located at 601 East 17th Street in Wilmington, Delaware, a 20-minute car ride from the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania International Airport. I close with the words of the greatest black leader of the 20th century and the man who gave us the largest black organization of all time. You can take every black organization in America now, and you still don't get what the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey did, who gave us the red, black, and green flag and said, up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Marcus Garvey said, the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization. Marcus Garvey said, if the black man and woman are not careful, you will drink in all the poison of Western civilization and die from the effects of it. Marcus Garvey said, when he was asked, are you an African or are you